Hello, everyone. My name is Ole Kagan. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator with LA County Library, and I welcome you to Work Ready, in-depth tour of Google Sheets. Before we get going with today's event, I'll take care of some housekeeping, do the land acknowledgement, and tell you a little bit about the Work Ready program. So if you can hear me and see the slide up on the screen, then you're good to go. However, if you're having trouble hearing me or seeing the slide, do let me know in the chat and I will do my best to assist. Before doing that, though, I would suggest restarting Zoom because oftentimes a simple restart is all that you need to get things back into shape. If you'd like to listen to this program on the phone, you can do that by calling 1-669-900-6833 and using the access code 816-6804-7874 and the passcode 123123. Now, you may have noticed that the mics and videos for attendees of the program have been disabled, not so that everyone can focus on our presenter. That's me. If you do have questions or comments, please do put them in the appropriate places. Questions should go in the Q&A box. That's the one with that's the one that says Q&A. I think that's the one with the single speech bubble. And then the chat, all comments or responses to any questions that I ask should go in the chat. And the reason for the distinction is that so that I can get to your questions, because sometimes the chat moves really quickly for me, but the Q&A, the questions are laid out and structured in a way that I can see them in order. All right, and now let us do the land acknowledgement. The County of Los Angeles recognizes that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, Tataviam, Serrano, Kizh, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders, descendants, past, present, and emerging, as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in land seizure, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, genocide, and multi-generational trauma. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of Los Angeles County. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. We are dedicated to growing and sustaining relationships with the native peoples and local tribal governments, including, in no particular order, the Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians, the Gabrielino Tongva Indians of California Tribal Council, the Gabrielino Tongva San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians, the Gabrielino Band of Mission Indians Kizh Nation, the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, and the San Fernando Band of Mission Indians. To learn more about the First Peoples of Los Angeles County, please visit the Los Angeles City County Native American Indian Commission website at lanic.lacounty.gov. All right, and now I would like to quickly tell you about the Work Ready program. Starting in December of 2020, the library has been lending laptops and hotspots out of 27 library locations, as well as presenting near weekly virtual events on a range of work-related topics, all in order to help people get a job, improve their work situation, and plan a more sustainable career path. To see over 50 of our past events, you can head over to the Work and Career playlist on our YouTube channel. I'm going to post that link in the chat, and it'll also be in the follow-up email. The Work Ready program is made possible due to funds provided by the American Rescue Plan. And before we get going with our in-depth tour, I also want to let you know what we have coming up next for Work Ready, and that is into October. On Tuesday, October 8th, we have Work Ready working with difficult people. Join Lorraine Aguilar, CEO of Working Harmony, to learn strategies to increase your influence, stay calm under pressure, and turn confrontation into collaborative opportunities based on the tenets of nonviolent communication. That's NVC. And that's a free program. You can sign up for that. And if you're not able to make it on that day, just as with this program, you can register and you'll get a video link in a follow-up email. So if you need to go to an appointment or you have something else going on during that time, no worries, you'll be able to see the video on YouTube. And it's the same with this program as well. If you need to leave at any point or step away from the computer or are just lost by the plethora of options in Google Sheets, and there are quite a lot, you know that you will be able to review this program in the future. It'll be posted on our YouTube channel, and you'll receive a video link in a follow-up email that should be sent out probably tomorrow morning, or if not, that maybe late this afternoon. We'll see, depending on how much time I have. And if you're interested in more library programs, you can head over to lacountylibrary.org, click on the events link on the top right-hand side, and you'll be able to see all the events, the in-person events, the virtual events happening at all of our 85 library locations. And those are for all ages. All of them are, of course, absolutely free. And if you're just interested in virtual programs like this one, you can hover over that events button and you'll get a little drop down that says virtual program. And you click on that and you'll just get our Zoom events, also all ages, and also absolutely free. All right. And with that, it's time to get into our in-depth tour of Google Sheets. Before I start the who am I, why am I doing this? My name is Ole Kagan. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator with LA County Library, as you know. And I've had a passion for teaching people about computers for maybe about 2 decades, just over 2 decades. Even before I became a librarian, I would teach people from very beginners to more advanced users how to use computers and specific software. And I just love it when people begin to feel like they can experiment with their computer. So many of the beginners that I've taught over the years start by being afraid that they're going to break it. And I say, you're not going to break it. And most definitely, you're not going to break Google Sheets. So you can go into Google Sheets, you can experiment with it, you can press buttons, fiddle around, and it's going to be fine. In fact, I recommend that you do that because how do you learn? By experimenting. All right, let's get into Google Sheets and we'll start our tour. So we're going to run for about, our tour is going to be probably about an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes. Maybe a little shorter, maybe a little longer, depending on how much we get stuck on various aspects. You can ask questions throughout, but I'll have time at the end to answer your questions, depending on how many questions we get. I may not be able to answer all of them, but I'll do my best to try. Before we start, though, I would like to ask you in the chat, how well do you know? Well, actually, no, let's start with this. Spreadsheets. Do you love them or hate them? On a scale of 1 to 4. 1, you hate them. 4, you love them. And everything in between. Personally, I'm a fan of spreadsheets, which is a weird thing to admit, but I'm okay with admitting that I enjoy spreadsheets. I find them very useful. I find them calming. And when I have something complicated to think about or concepts to sort of put in order, I like to create spreadsheets to, for instance, track habits for my financial spending. And from there, I like to organize them to see the way the data looks. I like to create sheets. I like to create charts and graphs. It just makes me feel like I have everything in order. Ooh, somebody put a 5. It means you really, really love spreadsheets. I see there's actually a surprising amount of 3s and 4s. We've got the right audience. I see a few people who have lower numbers. Somebody love how they simplify data. Yes, me too. Somebody put a 6. That means you love spreadsheets. Got a few people who hate them. Somebody said, I love spreadsheets, but I'm an accountant. That's fair. Spending a lot of time. Number three, they scare me sometimes. They scare me too. That's when I go to Google and I search for how to do the thing that I'm doing. Not hate, but struggle. That's what this program is for. If you're struggling with Google Sheets or just spreadsheets in general, because a lot of features that Google Sheets has, Excel has as well. In some ways, they're very similar, at least in the basic level. Sheets and Excel are very similar. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for responding. I see there's still people coming in with like fives. I appreciate it. Well, I hope that after this program ends, your excitement will be maintained. So let's begin by going into where Google Sheets lives. Now, Google Sheets is part of Google Workspace, and to get to Google Workspace, you go to Google Drive. So now I'm sharing my screen here, and this screen is the Microsoft Edge browser. I'm going to go to the URL bar here, and I'm going to go to drive.google.com. And it's going to take me to Google Drive. So I already have an account. I'm logged into my account. So as you can see, it brought up the main Google Drive screen. Google Drive is where you are. Whoa, somebody put a 10. I've been an Excel girl since high school, though, and I'm well into my 40s. That's a lot of Excel has really, really changed and improved in all those years. I also enjoy Excel, but for my personal use, I tend to use Google Sheets because it's a little simpler and has everything I need. So we're in the Google Drive screen here, and this is where all of your various Google apps live. So for instance, if we click new here, we can create a Google Doc, which is word processing. We can create Google Slide, which is like the equivalent, which is like presentation software like Microsoft PowerPoint. And we have Google Sheets. We also have Google Forms, which actually integrates in interesting ways with Google Sheets. And we have several other Google apps. So similar to the way things are on your computer, we've got our different files here. We've got folders. We go to My Drive. We can see all the different files that I've created in this account, resumes, budget, Pat's workspace, which we'll be working with later, and some other items here. So the difference between this and your computer, of course, is that Google Drive lives on Google servers. So it lives, as we say, in the cloud. So you never have to worry about saving things. Everything is saved automatically. If your computer crashes, not to worry, because all of this lives on Google's computers. So you'll always have access to this no matter where you are. If you can access the internet and an internet browser, whether it's Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, Firefox, or any other browser, you can have access to your Google account and therefore your Google Drive. Now, all you have to do is make sure that you remember your Google account credentials, because if you forget those, then you will not be able to access your Google Drive. So there's various ways to break down how to access files here. I'm not going to go through that today, but I recommend that you play with your Google Drive, and then you can see you can organize by type, people, modified, location, all these things here. I want to get right into Google Sheets. How do we do that? Well, you can do that in several ways. One is you can go to New. That's the box up here. You can go to Google Sheets. It creates a new document for you. If you just click here, if you click the little arrow, you can get a blank spreadsheet, or you can open a spreadsheet from a template. And there's quite a few templates that exist in Google Sheets. That means that there are these sheets that are pre-created for you based on popular applications of Google Sheets. So for instance, a monthly budget, a to-do list, an annual budget, Google Finance. So you can see Google Stock here, and it automatically updates. And I'll show you how to do that later. We've got an annual calendar, schedule. So these are popular applications of Google Sheets. The only thing that's distinct about these is that they're styled in a way that personally I don't prefer. And so I like to create my own. But if you don't care about the aesthetics and you just need a to-do list, here's one. We, of course, are going to create our own to-do list later on in this program. And so we'll see one that doesn't look quite like this. We'll probably actually have a little bit more than this one. If we just want a blank spreadsheet, we click on Google Sheets. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open Pat's workspace, which is an example of a sheet, and there's going to be I have a blank sheet here, which is to do. We have not created anything in here yet. I have 3 sheets on the bottom here. So this is all it's a file, a Google Sheets file. This is what it looks like when you open it. On the bottom here is 3 different sheets, which is each of these is a different spreadsheet, but they all live within one file. So let's go from the top and I'll tell you all of the things that exist up here, and then we'll selectively go through the menu options as I show you how to use Google Sheets. Now, for those unaware of what a spreadsheet is essentially a database that's visually there for you to see. It's broken down into cells, which are each of these squares, or rectangles as it were. Each of these are cells. Each cell is named by the column. This is a column A, column B, column C, and so forth. And then rows, row 5, row 6, row 7. And so if we go here, we're in cell C7. And we can do things with these different cells. At the very basic thing we can do is just create a simple table, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. So we input information into each of these cells and we get our structured information. So to start with, here's the Google Sheets icon. If we click on this, it takes us back home. So it takes us, actually it doesn't take us here, it takes us just to Google Sheets home. So it's essentially Google Drive, but only for our Google Sheets files. So here is all the Google Sheets files I have in this account. I'm going to go back to my document by clicking back. Here's the name of the worksheet. I don't need tables at this moment. Here's the name of the worksheet. I can change that by clicking up here. So right now it's called Pat's Workspace. I can call it Joe's Workspace or Jolene's Workspace or Pat's Workspace. And then when I click off of that, that's the name of it. And that's the name that shows up right here in Google Drive. The little star lets you essentially bookmark this file, so it's easy to find. When you hit the star, the file appears in the starred area right here. The main reason to do that is if you have a lot of files and you need to find some or access them quickly, starring it is one way to do that. I don't have too many files in this account, so for me, I wouldn't need to use star very often, but it's an option that you have should you use Google Drive a whole lot. Right here, we can move Pat's workspace into other places. So we can move it into personal finance or staff retreat simply by hitting move. Or if there's file, we can go in here and see what's in here and then click move. I'm not going to move it right now. Right now it's in just our basic area on our our top level. But we can see here, we can move it that way, or we can drag it as well to any of these places. I'm not going to do that at this moment. That's the little folder with the arrow inside. This little cloud is a distinctive feature of cloud-based software or browser-based software. This means that this document is saved in the cloud. There's a little cloud with a check mark. That means we're completely up to date. We don't have to hit save. We don't have to worry about our computer turning off or crashing. It doesn't matter. It's saving as we do anything. So it's just always doing that. And we can always go back to previous versions of this file in case we went in a direction we didn't want to go and we want to reverted back to a different version. There is also the possibility of saving some of these documents on your computer. So syncing what you're using here with documents on your computer, and you can turn that on also right here. You turn on, and there's some instructions on how to do that. That's beyond our scope for today, but know that it is possible in case you don't always have internet access, but you do want to edit documents that are in Google Sheets on your computer. And then once you get internet access back, then it'll sync to Google's server and the files will all be aligned. On this side, we jump over, so we see our last edit. So I edited this document earlier. I created this little invoice sheet, which we can talk about in a bit. If I click that little clock, we can see various versions of this file. I created it this morning, and you see I've been editing it throughout the morning. And I can go back to any of these versions of the file. If I click them, then we can see what this version looks like. So to do is always blank, but invoices has changed. So see, it doesn't have all of them. And then if I go later, so this is 9:55, if we go to like 10:12, now it's all of them. All right, let's go back. So that's what this little clock does. This speech bubble is show all comments. So one of the distinctive features of Google Workspace in general, not just Google Sheets, is that it's made for collaboration. So you can use it on your own. And for me, for my personal use, I tend to use it on my own. So I create habit trackers, I create all kinds of different stuff. And I don't typically share it. Sometimes I share it with my wife, but I don't typically share it with other people, but I can if I want to. Oftentimes people use this at work. And if you're using it at work or for like planning an event, something that you want other people to see, then you're going to share these, you're going to share your spreadsheets, you're going to share your documents, and people can comment on them. If you click here, you can see all of the comments that are on your document. Right now, there are no comments on this one, but if I wanted to add one, I can just right click. And I think there's, let's see where I can put comments here. Here we go. Comment. This is cell D2. Now there's a comment here. And so if you leave and somebody else comes in and comments, then you can see this comment. If you just want to see all the comments in a row, if you have multiple comments, they'll all appear here, and you can arrange them by open or resolved. And then here, these are the ones that are specifically aimed towards you. So we got this, cell D2, that's great. We're going to resolve this. Next is the little camera icon. This is for if you want to chat with somebody using Google, I think Google Hangouts or Google Meet. They have a built-in video chat feature. So if you want to collaborate with somebody live and you want to see their face, just like we're doing here on Zoom, then you can click on that and you can invite somebody to collaborate with you directly on this file at the same time together. So we're talking about collaboration. Most of these things up here relate to collaboration, including share. If you want to share your file, you can do that by clicking share. And there's various options on what to do. So if you want to share it with a specific person, you can put their email address in here and you can share it with them. You can add this to a specific event. If you want to share it with a lot of people, you can do that by going to general access. So right now it's restricted. I can share this file to anyone with a link. So I click here so that if you have a link to this file, you can do things with it. What can you do? You can view. If you're a viewer, you can view it. Just look at it. And that's fine. If you want to just give somebody access to a file for them not to edit it, just to view it. If you want them to comment, like I had just done a moment ago, you can hit commenter. If you want them to have full access as an editor, you can go to editor. I'm going to share it with everybody here as a viewer. So if you want to come into this document, you'll be able to come into this document. I'm going to copy link. Now link copied, and I'm going to post that link in the chat. So if you click on that, you'll have access to this file. Oh, see, people are coming in. So right here. So everybody here is anonymous. So Google has a funny thing here. They just do various anonymous animals, anonymous bat, camel, chameleon, Dragon. So you won't know who you are because you're not really logged in to this file, but currently have 32 people that are in this document with me, just as viewers. If I let you on all as editors, we would have malarkey. And here we've got the Google account. So I'm logged into Oleg's Light Shop. That's the account that I'm using for this. And you can log out the account. That's this little, these are lights. All right, moving on to some more basic items here, the files. We're going to go through this quickly because most Google apps and then also apps on your computer will have similar things in the file menu. Creating a new file, we talked about this, creating a new spreadsheet, creating something new from the gallery. If you want to open a new file from Google Drive, you can click here, or you can go back here and open it. You can have multiple items open at the same time. This is the monthly budget template that I was talking about earlier. Here it is. So if you don't want to create your own, you've got one created for you here. Going back to import, if you have a Excel file on your computer and you want to put that into Google Docs or Google Drive, you can do that. And it'll, as long as you don't have anything very complicated or features that are specific to Excel, it'll actually come over pretty well because a spreadsheet is a spreadsheet. And in Excel, a spreadsheet looks like a spreadsheet. And in Google Sheets, a spreadsheet looks like a spreadsheet. But like I said, Excel has some unique special features that Google Drive may not have. And so those won't work. But for the basic stuff, you can pretty much import files easily. And you can import files from my drive. You can use files that are shared with me. So if somebody else shares a sheet file with you, or you can upload a file from your computer. And that can be an Excel file. There's various other formats that you can actually upload here, and they'll be saved in the cloud, and you can edit them within this format. You can make a copy of this file. So the default name is copy of Pat's workspace. You can save it in various folders. You can choose where to save it in Google Drive. Share it with the same people, copy comments. So I'm not going to make a copy right now, but that's a possibility. Very easy to do. There was a question in the chat, can you import from Apple's number software? That's a good question. With Apple, I don't know because it varies. Let me see if you can download it into Google. So you can't download it into a numbers file. So that's a great question. With Apple's numbers, you may be able to export as a different kind of file and then upload to Google Docs. But I haven't used numbers, which is Apple's spreadsheet software, so I'm not able to give you a definitive answer on that. If you want to share, that's the same as the button up here. If you want to email this document to somebody, you can email this file and it'll get basically shared by email with somebody. If you want to download it, so if you want to bring it down to your computer, you can export it as an Excel file, as an open document format, as a PDF, which is not editable unless you have a paid version of Adobe Acrobat. You can save it as a web page, which allows you to open it in your browser, but not edit it very easily. So not so convenient. Comma separated values file. So this is like a text file of a spreadsheet that is very difficult to read as a human being, but computers can read it very easily because it's essentially the values in your spreadsheet separated by commas, comma separated values. But computers read it very easily and can import it and make it look like a proper spreadsheet. And then tab separated values, the same idea. The items in your cells are separated by tabs. Rename the file, self-explanatory. We played with that a little bit up here. You can move the file. We've done that already as well. Add shortcut to drive. So this is similar to starring it, but it comes up at the top of the front of the screen here. So if you go to home, it'll come up at the top. Again, just for ease of access, move to trash. So if you don't like this file anymore, you want to remove it, you can move it to the trash. If you accidentally move something to the trash, don't worry, it'll stay there for 30 days before it gets automatically deleted, so you can always restore it. We looked at the version history already. It's the same icon as up here. Make file available offline. That's essentially what we looked at up here with this cloud. Here are the details of this file. They're very simple details: where it's located, who the owner is, me. Modified, so when we last edited this file, and when the file was created, 9:14 a.m. this morning. And then settings. And these are very basic. This is just when you put time and location, that is affected by these, which time zone we're using. And then these are some specific elements that you can determine how we want to recalculate. And same thing here. Actually, not as many settings as one would expect. And then print. Printing a spreadsheet is a little complicated because it depends on what you want to print in your spreadsheet. Spreadsheets are often very long and tall, which means that printing them is not easy. So if you want to scale them to a certain page, if it's very big already, it's going to be very long on the computer screen. You have to scroll and scroll. It's going to be very, very tiny on the page. So you want to make sure that you scale it properly. So if you want to, let's go to this one and I'll show you what it looks like. So this is not a very big spreadsheet. So here it can pretty much get everything on a letter-sized paper if we do it in landscape. If we do it in portrait, on the other hand, the landscape is long ways like this horizontally. Portrait is vertical. So in portrait, part of it gets cut off. But if we want to scale it, we can do fit to width, and then it'll be the whole thing. It'll just be smaller, so hard to see. You might need a magnifying glass. And then we can adjust the margins, make them narrow, make them wide, etc. And then there's various formatting options here. If we want these grid lines, we can remove them, and so on and so forth. Workbook title, Pat's workspace. All right, there's mentions frozen rows. We'll get to that in a moment. So repeat frozen row means it repeats the row that's frozen on each page. So if your spreadsheet is multiple pages to print, it'll repeat the frozen row. That's usually a good idea. Okay, so that's pretty much what we have in file. We've got to edit. We've got some other basic features that you'll find in almost all software and on every computer. Undo is you do something, like I type in the word good into this cell, which is cell F15. I don't like it. I'm going to undo it. Boom. Now it's gone. Well, I really like it, so I'm going to redo it. Good. This is for something simple like this, not so necessary, but if you're doing a lot of different stuff, or if you create a lot of random formatting things, redo and undo are very convenient features. So you can access these in separate ways. You can undo, redo. You can use Control Z. You can hold down the Control button Z, Control button Y, or you can use the toolbar here. So what you'll notice, and what you probably already have noticed, is that in Google Sheets, there are many ways to get to different things, to get to different features. So we've already seen the version history. It's located here and also here. The syncing is located here and within the menu. This is nice because you can decide how you want to use it. I use keyboard shortcuts. So if I'm going to undo, I always just push Control Z on my keyboard because I don't need to, it's faster for me than using the mouse or going into edit, undo, or redo. Cut and copy and paste are also basic computer features. You may already know about them. If you don't, I'm going to quickly demonstrate. So I've got let's say we have got this client here, Sports Illustrated Online. Pat is a freelance writer. She wrote an article about Jack LaLanne's diet for Sports Illustrated Online. If I want to take this text and put it somewhere else, do I want to retype it? No. Why do that? This is a computer. I can cut it out, and so you've got these little crosshatch lines here, or these little dotted lines. I want to put it like here. So I click over here, I go to edit, paste, and boom, I cut it from here and pasted it here. But what if I don't want to remove it from its original place? If I want to leave it here and also put it here, that's what copy is for. I go to edit, copy, and just as what it means, it copies and pastes it here. let me remove this here. So here I'm going to just delete that. We move back here. Okay, we can also paste special. So if this is like bold and illustrated and strike through, and we just want to paste only the text, we can do that. Go to edit, copy, and I'm going to put it just on the next line. Paste special, values only. See, I removed all that formatting. I use that all the time. I don't like formatting from various places, so I'm always using values only. Control Shift V is how I use it. See, there was a question in the chat. Instead of copy and paste, can we use undo? So undo has a slightly different, you can if it's the same idea, but copy and paste has a slightly different function than undo. Undo just reverses what you had just done a moment ago. Copy and paste does something new. So it takes something from one place and copies it to another place. If you want to undo that and keep it only in that one place again, then you can undo that. All right, moving on to edit. So we've got paste special. You can paste special various things. Use the formula only, format only, data validation. We'll talk about a few of these things later. Column width only. So if you want to only paste this column width and not the text at all, that's actually an option. I've never used it, but I can imagine it would be useful if you want to create a new cell or there's some reason you need that specific size. You can move stuff around. So if you select this, I don't know why this is not selected. I've never used the move feature within the menu. If I want to move something, you can actually, if you want to move a row, I can actually highlight the whole row. And you see this little hand that appeared here? I can click that and it grabs it, and then I can move it. Move it back. And you can actually move multiple rows if you want to. Same idea. So you got the hand here. Oh, you can move multiple. Yeah, it moves just one. I thought you could move multiple rows, but maybe not. In this case, I would probably just copy it and paste it where I want it to go. All right, then we've got delete. Delete is self-explanatory. We can delete, but because we're in the spreadsheet, we can delete different things. So here I've got row 6 selected, so it'll automatically give me the option to delete all of row 6, all of column A. I can shift cells up and shift cells and shift up. So if I want to delete the cells and then shift things up, and then if there are notes attached to the cell, I can also delete the notes. And then find and replace, one of my favorite features. If I want to replace the same piece of text in the whole document, if I want to replace content form with something else, so if the company has changed names or something, then I can go to edit, find and replace. I can type content farm here, and I can replace that with Scribbler's Den. And so what this is going to do is it's going to select all of the places in this document that say content farm and replace it with Scribbler's Den. Such a nice thing that computers allow you to do. On a typewriter, this would be very difficult, and on a piece of paper, this would be very good. Cross things off, things everywhere. No, this is much easier. This will place values on. Are you sure? I am sure. There we go. And now Pat works for Scribbler's Den. This is really nice when you have a really, really long spreadsheet and you want to replace the same thing on the whole entire spreadsheet. And if you don't like it, if you replace and you're like, wait a second, I made a mistake, you just go to undo. And it's back to content farm. But I like Scribblers, so I'm going to leave that. That's all of edit. View is a useful menu because sometimes you want to view your spreadsheet in different ways. So what we have here is showed. So this is just what the interface looks like. So right now we have the formula bar, which is this right here. So we can view that. We can turn it off if we want to. If we don't use formulas, or we type all our formulas into the boxes, then we can type them all in here. grid lines. Some people like these lines, some people don't. We can remove all the grid lines. Looks a lot neater, although if you have a really long spreadsheet, then sometimes it's hard to see. You want to select it like this so you can see it, but otherwise some people feel the grid lines are kind of messy. I usually leave them. And I usually leave the formula bar. If you only want to see a formula, but not the result of the formula in a spreadsheet, you can do that as well. So for instance, I'm gonna add up all of this right here. So it's automatically, it knows what I want here. So sum E2 to E11. So this is E2, this is E11. So basically what I just added up all of these in one fell swoop using a formula. This is my formula, the sum of E2 and then colon E11. It's a range from E2 to E11. But if I do view formula, then it's going to show me just what the formula looks like and not the sum of it. So that's if I'm troubleshooting a document and I wanted to see all the different formulas that exist there. That's one reason to do that. And then if you want to view C protected ranges or not C protected ranges, protected ranges are a feature in Google Sheets that allow you to restrict editing of certain ranges. A range is a group of cells. So this is a range. This is a range. It's any group of cells. I can protect those cells from other editors, or I can protect it from myself, I guess. That way, your spreadsheet won't get messed up. If you have got if it's a very complex spreadsheet, you don't want other people going in there and messing up your formulas and things. And so if you only want people to edit certain parts of the spreadsheet, you can protect ranges. And this lets you view the protected, it shows the ranges that are protected. So it lists them, or it shows which ones are protected explicitly in the file. All right. So we talked about freezing rows. This is what freezing rows means. So this row is actually already frozen. You see how it stays on top here? It was frozen automatically because I had converted this to a table. So here's what a frozen row. So let's start creating our to-do list here. And then I'll show you what a frozen row looks like. So this is going to be a to-do list for Pat. You might want to create a to-do list for yourself. I have a to-do list for myself in Google Sheets because a spreadsheet is a nice way to organize a to-do list. And you can sort things pretty easily. So let's do date. Let's create our headers. Task, status, and notes. So I'm not going to do anything else but this for now. I'll just put, like organize files, write to-do list by rutabaga. I don't know if I spelled that right. I don't even know if rutabaga is in season yet. Brush cat and create presentation about Google Slides. That one's next for us. We've done Google Docs a couple of weeks ago. We're doing Google Sheets now. Google Slides will be in the future. Okay, so here's what I've done here. We'll fill this out more a little bit later. But if I want to, let's say I scroll down, as you can see, this row, my header row disappears. But if I have a whole bunch of to-dos, like if it goes down to row 38 or something, so if I want to just, I don't know, copy all of these, boom, I'm just copying and pasting just so you can see what I mean. So now it's off my screen if I want to look at these here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to freeze the first row. I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to freeze one row. And now the row is frozen up here. And now no matter how much I scroll, it shows. So I can see that this is the task column. I do this very often when I have long documents, if I don't have it formatted as a table, which automatically will freeze the row. So let's unfreeze the row. So I'm going to do edit undo, and I'm going to remove all these other files, but freezing a row is very convenient. And then the idea of that was when I mentioned that you print it, when you print a frozen, if you hit print frozen row, then it'll print that row, your header row, on the top of each of the pages that you print. So it'll be, no matter if you look at page 1 or page 9, you'll still know what each column means. Somebody mentioned and said, will this be available later for us to review? I may need to leave early. Absolutely. So this is going to be a lot. I mean, it's an in-depth tour. So yes, this is being recorded right now, and you'll be able to view this later. You'll get an email with a video link, and you'll be able to look at it at your leisure on YouTube. So you can speed me up to 1.5 times my speed or slow me down to 0.5. So then I will talk like this, and you can easily follow along. Moving forward. So we were in edit, we're in view. So that's freezing rows. So you can freeze multiple rows. You don't have to freeze just one row. You can freeze row up to 7, up to row 7. So because it says up to row because I'm in row 7. So if I wanted to freeze all of these, you can actually do that. Go to freeze up to row 6, and now you see how it's scrolling down here. So if there's some kind of legend that you need to always keep at the top of your file, you can do that by freezing the rows. Now, something that I do when I'm going to undo, I push Control Z to undo. I'm curious if I can freeze just this row. One row. No, you can't. You can't just freeze a row in the middle because then it won't know how to react. It freezes the row on top. You can also freeze columns. So if I wanted to freeze just column A, I can do that. And that's essentially the same thing. So now if I scroll this way, you'll have the date there. You can freeze both a row and a column. Grouping columns, so you can group rows and columns. That's convenient to do if you have a lot of the same kind of thing and you want to organize your document. There's also ways to create groups that automatic create groups temporarily using views, but we'll do that in a little bit. So you can create group by views and filters. This is primarily if you want to manually group things. So if I want to just group these items, like just these right here, by rutabaga brush, cat, and create presentation, like if I want to do those in the afternoon, I can just group those. So now they're a specific thing, and I can remove them. I can re-add them. If I want to create a header on one of those at the top of the row, and then I can group by a certain header. So it's just the ways to organize your document. It doesn't actually change any of the text in your document. It just lets you see it differently. So now it's minimized, maximized. All right, so let's ungroup that group. So let's go back to this. They're all highlighted. I'm going to go to view and ungroup rows 4 to 6. And now it's back to our standard programming here. Comments, we talked about comments already. This here is just another place where you can hide comments, minimize comments, or show all comments. We had seen that already right here as well. And then we don't have any hidden sheets here. We could hide a sheet if we want to. If I want to hide the parking lot, I clicked on the sheet. It's currently blank. I can hide sheet. That's again, if you are sharing this document with a lot of different people and you don't want to protect a whole sheet, you just don't want it to appear at all, you can hide the sheet and then people won't mess with it. But they can of course, they could go to hidden sheets and show parking lot, and it's back. We need parking lots because we have cars and we need to put them somewhere. All right, so that's hidden sheets. Zoom is self-explanatory. If you want to zoom in to your spreadsheet, zoom is also right here on the bar. So if you want to zoom in, we've zoomed in into our spreadsheet. This is useful if you're only looking at, if you have a really big spreadsheet and you're looking at a certain part, or if you want to zoom out I do this more often than zooming in. If you want to zoom out, if you have another and you want to get into your view more of the spreadsheet, then you can zoom out and you can see more of it. Now, of course, you folks probably can't read anything that's on here because it's so small. So I'm going to go back to 100. And then full screen. That just makes that removes all of the different stuff up here so you can focus on the spreadsheet. And now I don't know how to bring it back. Oh yeah, hit escape, right? There we go. I hit escape and now it's back. All right, so now we're done with the view. Let's go to insert. So this is where we start to actually create things. And we're going to go back to our to-do list and we're going to do some creating. So these things are very simple and basic. Create cell, insert cells, you insert a cell. So if you insert a cell, insert cells and shift right. So you insert cells and shift down. That depends on where you are. So I'm selected, if my document is selected here, I can shift everything down. I can shift things to the right, etc. If I wanted to, I usually create cells by right clicking over here on my mouse. So I select if I want, especially if I want to create one in the middle of in the middle of already created rows or columns. If I want to create one like in the middle of 4 and 5, I put my mouse on number 5, so it's selected here. Right click, and again a drop down menu, and you have an option of insert row above or insert row below. You also can delete row, clear row, hide row. You can have various options here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to insert row above. So that created a new row for me, and it shifted the numbers down. So I created a whole new row 5. And what should we have on our to-do list? Let's do laundry. A lot of chores for Pat. Okay, so then we've created rows. So that's the same thing. Insert. That's essentially the same thing as insert cells, insert rows. So here you can. This is insert a specific cell. So I'm going to do insert cell and shift everything down. So I just inserted a cell here. Realistically, it actually inserted the whole row, but that's if you don't want to deal with the entire row, you can also just say insert cell. I'm going to undo that. Columns are the same. If you want to insert a column, right click on the column, insert column left, insert column right. I just inserted it here. I don't need it, so I'm going to delete it. If I want to create a whole new sheet, I can insert sheet, and that created a blank sheet for me. Google Docs automatically names sheets sequentially by number. So these I've changed their names, but this is the 4th sheet that I've created in this file. So it's sheet 4. And if I want to rename it, I can click this little arrow and you have various options. I could rename it to test, and I can change its color because why not? And now it's got a little green thing here. So you can be stylish even with spreadsheets, maybe in a limited way. I want to delete that. Heads up, because if you've done a lot of work on a sheet and you go to delete somehow by accident, Google Sheets doesn't want you to accidentally remove it. So it gives you a heads up. I do actually want to delete, so I'm going to hit OK. Tables. So tables is something that's new to Google Sheets. Excel has had tables since forever. Excel structures your data in a way that's, well, it puts it in a structured form. So here, this right here currently is just a range. It's just a unformatted range. These cells don't have anything to do with each other. We can see that they're somehow similar. So these are all in the same row. If we make them bold, they look like they're kind of, they resemble, like this is the date column, this is the task column, this is the status column, and this is the notes column. But for Google Sheets, it doesn't make any difference. Like this isn't related to this at all. Now, if we create a table, we convert this to a table, then all of these are related. And that creates possibilities for us. So this is already getting into kind of a more advanced feature of Google Sheets. And this, like I said, this is only a few months old. One of the distinctions between Google Sheets and Google and Excel was the presence of tables. And now that Sheets is having tables, that's a big deal for the functionality of Google Sheets. So we can create a blank table. And so this is actually, we kind of created on top of this stuff. So this is created a whole new table. Didn't even create it here. So this is what a table looks like essentially. There's many different templates for tables. So you can use what they have around. So like project tasks. So this table has a whole bunch of different columns that are labeled certain ways. They use smart chips. There's specific date columns. So there's clearly, you see each column has its own special formatting. If you're planning a trip, get your itinerary here, a trip budget, transportation. A lot of these are created for work because Google Workspace, I mean, Google sells workspace for companies. And so a lot of the templates they've created are specific to the work environment. I actually want to create my own table. I'm going to delete this whole thing. I want to see if I can. So in Google, in Excel, you can highlight an area and create it, insert a table. Here, it seems like it might be, that functionality doesn't exist here. I'm going to try to see if I can make it look, oh no, see, it doesn't do it. So here, this is not quite an official table yet. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to try to create a table. So it doesn't want to automatically recognize as a table because, yeah, for now it's still separate. And see if it doesn't insert, it creates a whole new sheet for me. So we can actually, I'm going to do this a little bit later. For now, I'm going to leave this like this, and we're going to use some table-like features, and we're going to come back to tables. So here you can create charts automatically. So if we, for instance, want to see which companies, how much Pat has worked for each of these companies, we can create a histogram, which is looks like that. We're going to just select this data here, and we're going to add up just how many of each of these exists here. And in visual format, do a chart. We could do a pie chart. It automatically created a pie chart for me. I would like a count of client. So this looks like that. So this is what I actually wanted. And it automatically created this for me. I can move this around, of course, so we can see it. And see how it's as easy as that. It basically, you just select chart, you select which one under insert and chart. So we're inserting a chart. So because I selected the specific range that I wanted it to use, which was just literally one range of clients. And so what it knew that I wanted essentially just a count of the clients. And so here you have Disney twice, and Scribbler's Den has had 4 invoices. And then we can edit the formatting of this table, make it look different. So we can change the color of the columns, the width of the columns. Everything you see here is editable. You can edit the font here. You can edit these names. You can edit whether this title appears. As you can see, as I click through each of these, we got a chart editor. The relevant part of the chart editor appears and allows you to edit these. So like I said, even if you're using spreadsheets, you can still be stylish. So I'm going to remove this. I don't really need this here, but I did want to show you how it looks. We can edit the chart. If we change this, it'll change the chart. We can download the chart as an image file, download it as just the chart as a PDF. We can publish the chart. Actually, I'm curious what this, I'll get published to the web. So it's basically just sharing just the chart. We can actually move the chart to its own sheet, so that way it won't be, so if you have a giant spreadsheet and you don't want the chart to be overlaying on your data like this, you can move it to its own sheet and it'll get updated as you update the information here. You can also move it to its own Google Docs file. So if you want it in a word processor, you can move this. You can copy this, just basically edit and copy, edit, copy, and then go to a Google Docs file and paste it. And you'll have this, and then there's a little update button. You can update it so that whenever you update things here in your sheet, it'll also update in your Google Doc, in your word processing file. So let's remove this. So all text is, for screen readers, this will be chart of count of clients. And then you can describe the chart too if you want to. So this is for folks who are having trouble seeing and using a screen reader. Alt text is useful for accessibility. If you're just using this yourself and you don't need that accessibility feature, you don't need to put alt text. All right, let's go ahead and delete this chart. It's really easy to remake if we want to, but we're not going to do that now. We got a pivot table. So what is a pivot table? That's advanced. We're getting into like intermediate advanced features. I love pivot tables. If you have a whole bunch of data, a pivot table lets you arrange that data however you want. I'm going to give you a quick example. Let's highlight all of this because this is what we're going to be using for our data. I'm going to insert a pivot table. See, the range is already selected. Invoices A1 to G11. That's from here to down here. We can also insert the pivot table on this sheet. I'm going to insert it onto a new sheet. This is a pivot table. So that right now it's nothing. We don't have anything selected. We can arrange for it to be, so there's some suggestions, sum of amount of each client. So it basically takes that data and you can easily kind of finesse it to show what you want to show. So let's just do the suggested one, sum of amount for each client. So how easy was that? We can see how much we're paying to each client. Client count of invoice for each client I paid. So here we see the false and true. So true is paid, the invoice was paid. False is the invoice was not paid. Disney, 2 of them was paid. Lit Parade, 1 of them is paid. Scribbler's Den, they still have 2 outstanding, or 1 of them was not paid. Scribbler's Den, we have 2 outstanding invoices. Sports Illustrated, we have 1 outstanding, and Yahoo has been very good about paying. 2 of them are paid. And you can see the grand total. So out of 10, 4 are not paid and 6 are paid. We can also convert this. We should be able to convert this to percentages. I'm not going to do that right now, but it's possible so you can see how much percentage of your invoices are paid. And if you want to set goals that by the end of each month, you're going to make sure that 50% of your invoices are paid, this is how you'll be able to easily see that. So pivot tables for this, our table here is not very complex. It's pretty small, but imagine if there was, if Pat was very busy and kept this table updated for 10 years, you might have 300 invoices. Then something like this would be a whole lot more convenient. It would really save Pat a lot of time. All right, so that's a pivot table. You can insert images. We're going to do that in a moment. So we have our to-do list. Let's create some dates. So I'm just going to create random dates. Let's say like 9/17, that's today. 24, 9/20, 24. By rutabaga, that's something you had to do yesterday. 24. Laundry, every day. 5 little kids, for me, every day. Let's do 9/18, 24. Brush cat, also every day. If you have cats, I don't have cats, but if you have cats, especially if you have hairy cats, or furry cats, every day. And then create presentations about Google Slides. I don't have that set up yet, so let's just say that's going to be a month out. Let's do 10/17, 24. Okay, so here what we're going to do is we're going to create a status. And to do that, we're going to create smart chips. We're going to use, we're going to use a drop down. What options are there for the status of a task? To do. I like to be capital letters. Let's do still to do. Option 2, in progress. Let's do different colors. Add another item. Done. Done with purple. We can also do like on hold or something if we want to. Let's do this color. On hold. Now, so we don't need multiple, we only want one selection, but if sometimes if you have a status or whatever you want to use your drop-down menu for, to have multiple selections, so you can do multiple at the same time, you can also allow multiple selections, and there's other options. So if somebody wanted to put something else in this cell, you reject the input, or you can let them do it, but show a warning. You can also make these appear different. This right now it looks like is what Google calls a chip. You can make it look like an arrow, so it's just a little drop down here if you want to look neater, or just plain text. And then, actually, I'm curious what the plain text looks like when you do that. So I'm hit done. I see. So you double click it, and then it just shows like that. Then it looks very much. So we don't have to have a color here, so that it could just look like a regular document. So let's go back to this if we want this one not to have any, just to be blank. So now it just looks blank, just looks like a regular cell, but actually it's secretly a dropdown. And if we want to have that dropdown everywhere, we're going to hit Control C or edit copy. And we can put this in this whole entire row. Boom. Oh, I don't want it in progress. I just want it to be blank. So I'm going to create a blank dropdown. Right now, see, this doesn't exist here. So I want to make this blank. So this is various validation. So this is you can decide what you want to appear in this box, and you can make it do things if text contains something. Text does not contain this. Conditional formatting is what that's called. So this is you're creating rules. So the rule here is that it can only have this drop down information. So what I want to do here is I want to do just make it blank for now. And then I want to create this validation basically everywhere. So I'm going to select all this. I'm going to hit Shift, Control, and down. So this whole column is going to have, so I hit Control V, or Edit Paste. And now all of this has that drop down. I kind of like when it looks like a chip. So I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to do advanced options and make it look like a chip. So now, anywhere I click, oh, so I didn't actually do that. It just did it up here. I don't like that. This should be, oh, so now let's just select this one, Control C, and then do Control copy it and the rest there. Now, everywhere we go, we've got this chip in progress done. And the notes, I'm just going to leave blank. That's going to be text. Okay. So here's an advanced feature that I wasn't sure if I was going to show you, but I am going to show you because I think if you're creating a to-do list, it's nice to have. I'm going to teach you how to create a new row on top here with the click of a button. So the regular way you would do it is you do right click on here, you click insert row above, and you've got a clean row. And you see it automatically created the status for you. So here we put the date, the whatever, the task, and notes if we have notes. But how about if we wanted to put a button right here, that if we click that button, it'll give us a new row on top. We can do that. So I'm going to actually just make this thing a little, yeah, let's do it. Okay, so what I'm going to insert an image. As you saw from Pat's invoices, they really like Jack LaLanne. I don't know if we have other Jack LaLanne fans here. Jack LaLanne was a fitness icon. That's him. Go to images. I'm going to select an image. Copy. Let's use. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create an image and put in an image of Jack LaLanne. Let's use this one. This one's fun. I'm going to click on that, not that. I'm going to go to this one. And I'm going to view image. So I'm going to copy this icon here. I'm going to copy this URL, hit Control C, put it in the computer's memory. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to insert image over cells, because if I put it in cell, it's just going to appear in this cell right here, and it's always going to be in this cell. I want it to just be over the cells right here. So when we press it, a new row will appear. So I'm going to do insert image over cells. I'm going to go to link. So you can actually search Google Photos and things like that, Google Drive. You can insert images from various places or even from your computer. I'm going to go to link and I'm going to paste that link and it's going to automatically appear. There's Jack LaLanne. There he is. I'm going to make this image smaller. That's our little button. Put Jack right here. And he's going to live here forever. We're going to create something called a macro. A macro is a recording of similar tasks that you do in, essentially you can use macros in Google Sheets, you can use macros in Google, I don't know if Google Slides, but you can use it in Google Docs for sure. It's literally a recording of the tasks. If you do a repetitive task often, you can record a macro of it to make it easier. So when you go to macros, you get a record macro, and oh, this is, you know what? I have this in the wrong document. I want this in to do. I don't want this here. I'm gonna get rid of this from here. Let's go back. Just realized I put it in the wrong place. I want Jack right here. Jack. Let's go back. Let's get Jack LaLanne back here. Insert. Once again, do what we just did. Insert image over cells. Oh, did it not? Okay, let's copy that again. Is everyone with me? Am I going too fast, too slow? Or am I showing you features that you want to see? Let me know in the chat. So I feel like some of this, I'm getting a little bit advanced. I feel like I'm getting a little bit advanced, showing macros and everything. But I think that it's not so bad because even if you're not going to be using macros, I want you to know what exists. And you could always go into Google Docs and Google Sheets and play with this and figure it out. And someday, when you've been using it for a little while and you've got the basic features down, you're going to go, wait a second. Oleg said something about macros like a year ago, and I keep doing the same thing over and over. I want to make it easier. Let me look up macros. And then you look it up on LinkedIn Learning, which we offer for free from the library, or just Google macros, Google Sheets, and it'll teach you how to do it. And then you'll know, even if you don't remember everything I'm saying right now. No, I want Jack to be a little bigger. There's Jack. Okay, let's put Jack right here. And now what I want to happen is when I click on Jack, I want a new row to appear here. So I'm going to record a macro. All right. I'm going to go to, thank you everybody for your responses. I appreciate it. It looks like for the most part, I'm doing all right. So that's good. So let's record a macro. So as you can see, it's recording. I feel a little nervous, to be honest, that it's recording, but I haven't done anything yet. So it hasn't recorded any action. It's only recording the actions that I actually do. So this is going to be a really, really simple macro, and it honestly doesn't save me that much time, but I just like clicking on Jack in order for this to happen. So it's recording a macro, so I'm going to move the mouse over here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to insert row above. Boom. Oh, I don't like that I move Jack down. That's not good. I'm going to need to figure out how to fix that. But for now, not yet. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's all I want to do. Just do that. And maybe for status, I'm going to click on status and go to do. So basically it was two actions. I created a new row, right-clicked, create new row, and changed the status to do. And I'm going to save it. Let's title macro. Here's a quick tip. Don't leave spaces in your macro titles because it's not going to work. Some things are not going to work right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just type in new to do. Sorry, needed a cough there. We can create a keyboard shortcut, Control Alt Shift and then a number. So you only have basically 10 macro shortcuts to create. I occasionally would create a keyboard shortcut, but for one that I'm creating a button for this one, so I don't really need a keyboard shortcut. So I'm going to hit save. Okay, saving new macro. So macro saved. So if I want to be complicated, I can go to edit script, and we can actually, like if you're interested in computer coding, you can go into Google Apps scripts, and this is what it actually looks like in the back end. If this is all just gibberish to you, don't worry. You don't actually ever need to mess with that. So let's remove this right here and delete row. So this is where your macro lives. Extensions, macros, and new to do. So if we could access this macro by clicking new to do. And so it just ran, authorization required, that's fine. We're going to authorize it. So you have to do this the first time. You have to authorize Google Docs to use macros. Okay, it's authorized. Now let's go back and go new to do, running script. There we go. And it's created. So what we're going to do though is we're going to make it so that we don't have to click here and click here and click here. We're going to be able to just click on Jack. And what you do, you click the three little dots here, and we've got various options for this image. So this image nothing is happening to it yet. We can replace it, we can delete it, we can reset the size, put alt text in case somebody's using a screen reader. We can put image in a selected cell. We don't really need to do that. Although I guess we could put it in the cell on top here, and so it doesn't move, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to assign script. And I'm going to go to new to do. So you have to remember what your macro is called. So no complicated names. All right, so I've got that. I'm going to assign it. And now nothing has changed with the image other than in the back end. Now Google Sheets knows that we've assigned this set of tasks to this image. And I'm going to click on it. There we go. So it did this. All right, if I would click on it again, I can just keep clicking and it'll run the script as much as I want. Hooray for computers. It can automate basic tasks, save us 3 clicks or something. All right, so we can see it. So now Jack will live here. Oh, I just clicked on Jack again by accident. What I want is I actually want to move him. So I'm going to right click on him and I'm going to move him over here. I'm going to freeze the first row. I'm going to see, actually, I'm curious to see if, I go back to view, freeze, one row. I'm going to see if Jack moves. There we go. So now when I put Jack up here in the frozen row, now he doesn't move. He'll always be up here. Somebody asked in the chat, what is the purpose of placing the image of Jack on the Google Sheet? Actually, you could place any image. You can even create your own button. I just use Jack because it's fun. But we can actually go to Insert, Drawing, and create our own button. This is what I was going to show you next anyway. So moving forward. So you can actually draw a picture and insert it into your Google Sheet. I like a little bit of whimsy in my sheets, so that's why I inserted Jack. If I want to just create a circle, if I want to create just a regular button, and then in there I want to write new task. This is not a very stylish button, but it is a button. Make this a little smaller. There we go. Let's make it audio wide. Fancy. There. Now we're going to save and close. Here we got our button. So if we don't want Jack to do this, we can always assign the same thing to new task. So this new task button, same idea, new to do. We click on that. There we go. So it could be anything. It doesn't have to be Jack. It can be just a regular button. It can be any image. So it's really easy to link an image to a macro. You just click 3 buttons and go to assign script and then type in the name. All right, let's move forward here. So we've got through all of these, just these in themselves are worth the price of admission. Functions are formulas. So I had shown you the sum formula earlier. You can add up a range of cells and put them into another that addition into another cell. So we had done that earlier. So the way we do that is we decide on a cell that we want to use. So we can use any cell really. So let's use this one, D15, and we can either type it into the cell directly, or we can type it in the formula bar, equals sum, and then open parentheses, select the range we want to use, and close parentheses, and that'll add up everything within this range. There we go, 875. So there's a whole bunch of different functions within Google Google Sheets and Excel, as a matter of fact. You can even look up specific stocks and things. Price of security paying periodic interest. There's some really complicated, specific cells, and when you go over them, it tells you what they do. These are the most popular ones. You can get a sum of a range, you can get the average of a range, you can get the amount of cells within that range, or amount of cells that are filled in within a range. You can get the biggest value or the smallest value. If you don't want to create a whole nother, you want to use a cell for that, you can actually highlight all of these, and you get that information down here. So it automatically add up the sum for you. And if you click on it, it'll also give you the sum, the average, the minimum, the maximum, the count, and the amount of numbers that are in there. So if you're just occasionally looking at a specific range, you don't need it all the time. There we go. So now you can also do it for a whole column. So that it'll always update, the number will update. So if I want to do sum, and I just want to do this whole column E, it gives E:E, so it's just a whole column. Press enter, it adds it up. Column E should be, it's right now, it's not money. I'm going to make it automatically format as currency. So now currency, before it was just a number with a $sign in front of it, but Google Sheets didn't recognize it as currency. But now, I clicked right here, format as currency. Now it recognizes it as currency, and it has the decimal point here, and it has the change if I need change. I don't really need change for these things. So I'm going to remove the change by clicking right here, decrease decimal places. So right here, you see it's 875. That's the sum, and it automatically formatted as currency also. If I add something else to this row, big payday for Pat, you see, it updated on its own. Really big payday. There we go. So this is a running, it tabulates as I add things to this row. Same thing if I wanted to use count. So that's the amount of invoices that exist there. So I did count. So there's currently 9 items here. There's one right here, but you see this text is going over it. So we're going to go right over here, and we're going to go to clip. So we actually need to put something here. We're going to put, how much do we usually get paid by Disney? 150. There we go. So now there's 10 items here. We're counting here. If we add more, 75, 11, 12. All right. So the time is getting to be 12:24. I really want to get to some of the questions. So I'm going to really speed through some of these other features, and then I'm going to get right to the questions. I hope that's okay. There's going to be some more items for you to explore, and that's probably good. And if you have questions, of course, you can always email me. Just respond to the follow-up email, and I can help you. But I will tell you that Google is a good friend of yours when it comes to get troubleshooting Google Sheets and learning new features, because a lot of people use Google Sheets. It's free. Anybody with Google account can use it. And so whatever you see on your screen here is explained either on, you can just search Google, or you can go to search the menus, you can go to Sheets Help, and the Google Sheets Help is actually very good. So any feature you see, if you're not sure what number means or alignment means, you can find out. Okay, so that's functions. Functions are formulas that you use, and they do a whole bunch of stuff. They can look up specific information. They can do all kinds of fun stuff. You can create a link. So if I wanted to create a link to Disney.com here for some reason, I can go to insert link. Yes, Disney.com. Now this is a link. Ah. We can create a checkbox. That's what these are here. A checkbox is exactly what it is, a checkbox, and you can tabulate how many of these are checked and not, as we did with our pivot table here, because it recognizes, Google Sheets recognizes when a box is checked and when it's not checked. We can insert a drop down, which is what we did right here. This is a drop down. A drop down is just an example of conditional formatting. It only lets certain things within those cells, and it can actually changes the format of the cell depending on what's in it. We can insert an emoji. We know what an emoji is. So you can have a smiley face emoji here. Oop, we don't want smiley face because it did, see what it did was like, we tried to insert a smiley face and it was like, no, 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 that's not one of our drop-down options. So it protected us from ourselves. Smart chips are pretty fun. They're a feature that you don't always get in other software. And essentially you can create a space in your cell for any of these items. So I looked up actually something I did earlier just for fun. I'm going to do this in the parking lot where you have space. I would like to say, if I want to know what the stock price of Target is, I can go to finance, create a smart chip for finance, type to search for finance info. I just typed in Target because I was curious, and we get a bunch of drop downs. So the Target is traded on the New York Stock Exchange, Target Core. And I press enter. And it gives you, when you put your mouse over it, it gives you the stock price for Target. So if you want to have a spreadsheet to look at your stocks regularly, you can do that. Other smart chips include locations, calendar of events. Those will link to your calendar on your account, places, people. So people that are in your contact list, or if you're using this at work, the people on your contact list at work will appear here, and specific files. We've done links, smart chips, comments we've talked about, notes we've talked about. Notes is essentially just leaving a note on top of the cell. So formatting we've kind of already been covering. You can change the themes. This doesn't really affect the sheet itself. This affects the way that the charts look. So you have various options, or you can just customize it. You can make it look however you want with different colors. Theme is also, I believe, a new feature. I haven't seen it before. You can change the direction. So if you are writing in Hebrew, you can change from cells from right to left. So each cell has, Google Sheets recognizes what's in the cell. Sometimes it does so automatically, but sometimes you need to actually tell it what's inside. So for instance, dates, times, these are most of the dates. It'll mostly recognize automatically. As you saw earlier, it doesn't recognize currency automatically. So sometimes we need to tell it to do currency. If we're creating a ledger for ourselves, we can use accounting for when we're up and down. You can also make custom date and time. So if you don't want it to be the date to look like this, let's go back here. I'm going to show you how to change this. So we're going to highlight all of this. We're going to do a custom date. And so we can make it look like all of this, any of these here, or we can do it ourselves. I'm going to exit this. I just really wanted the day. So I want the day. So we can change how we want. I want it to be a date as abbreviation, and then month and year, or month and day. There we go. Tuesday, 8/5. There we go. So this is, we made it look kind of simplistic. So what I'm missing here is a slash, and I'm going to add that. So I'm going to go back to my custom date and time, and right in between these, I need to put a slash, otherwise it's going to look weird. There we go. So we can make it look like that. Make it's all automated, so we don't have to change them all. So this is important because depending on what Google Sheets thinks your cells contain, it'll respond differently when you use formulas or functions. Text, these are all the usual text features. Bold, you can make it look bold, italic, underline, and strike through. Strike through is just a typographical feature. It doesn't mean anything to Google Sheets that something is stricken through. Alignment, we can make things align left, center, right within the cell if we want everything to align right or left, just like that. These are also right here. So a lot of these text features also exist in the toolbar, so you don't have to click through to format. Wrapping, I've used that before. That's if you want to, if you have a lot of text in a cell, you can make it wrap around. You can make your items tilt up or down. You can make your spreadsheet look however you want, as funky as you want. You can merge two cells together. Not if they both have text in them already. So they have to not have text. Somebody asked in the chat, can you format the date to align run like a calendar? You can. Yeah, you can. I mean, so you can actually select, if you select this, since it recognizes the date, you can select using a calendar. But if you wanted to make your spreadsheet look like a calendar, you can actually make a spreadsheet look like a calendar just fine. In fact, if it recognizes a date and you want to use, if you want to just make it, you can make it jump ahead by a week. So if I want to do plus A7 plus 6, it'll automatically give me a week from there. And then if I want to keep doing that, I can do it like that. So I can make it jump ahead as far as I want. Yeah, you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to how you want to lay out your spreadsheet, and if you want to use it as dates. And then, of course, you can use a pivot table to arrange it in different, to view your data in different ways. So then we've got the usual font size and everything, convert to table. So we talked about this earlier. I would like to see if I can convert this to a table. There we go. So when you convert something to a table, it automatically recognizes the type of data you have in each column, and you can sort it. Somebody mentioned alphabetizing earlier. I can alphabetize this sort column A to Z. It'll sort everything together just by this column. You can sort columns by several columns at a time. So one column first, then another column, then another column. If you have a huge spreadsheet, that's sometimes useful. I can sort by whether something is paid or not paid. Sort column. There we go. So tables, I use tables in Excel all the time, and I'm actually glad that they exist now in Sheets. I'm grown used to using Sheets without tables, just using basically what you have here. You can arrange different views, and you can do that through creating filters views. But now that you have tables, you don't actually really need to use these as much because tables does this for you automatically. Of course, we can clear formatting. Conditional formatting is what we talked about earlier. When you have certain conditions met in a cell, it'll do something to that cell, change the color or whatever you want it to do. Data is a whole bunch of other features, data validation, data cleanup. These are the kind of things that are a little bit more advanced that I think would either save for another presentation, or I recommend you go to LinkedIn Learning, and there are the essential Google Sheets training, and that'll have each of these features. Or of course, go look them up in Help, Sheets Help. It explains what each of these does and how to use them. Or you can email me. and then we can talk about it. All right. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to get some of our questions answered. So now we have about 30 minutes for questions, and I really want to use that 30 minutes properly. So let's get into our Q&A. Somebody asked at the very beginning, what are Google Sheets? I hope by now everybody knows. All right, let me scroll through some of these questions. Some of these were answers to somebody wrote 8. They really like spreadsheets. All right. Is today's info applicable to Mac as well as PC? Absolutely. So within your browser, whether you use Safari, Edge, Firefox, Brave, or whatever browser you use, this will look exactly the same, this website. So it's applicable to Mac as well as PC. Absolutely. Is Google Sheets free? It is. Google Sheets is free. So if you create a Google account, which is free, you will get access to Google Sheets. Is there a version of Google Sheets that can be downloaded onto our desktop? There's something about it being in the browser that only keeps me from using it more often. So you can sync with your desktop, but it'll always appear in the browser. That's just how it's built. It's built for the browser. There's no separate app. How safe is from hacks is Google Drive? It's as safe as your password is. So if you don't have two-factor authentication enabled, that means when you're logging into your account from a different computer or logging in on your computer after having logged out, it'll verify your information on another device. So it's pretty safe when it comes to on Google's end. Say pretty, I mean, it's relatively speaking, but it's as long as you keep your password and username safe, then it's pretty safe. Does Google preserve the privacy of our data? I would read their terms of service. I mean, they preserve it to a certain extent. I mean, they're able to mine your data. It's unlikely that Google employees are spending their time looking at your spreadsheets. So I would recommend looking at Google's terms of service for specifics about their privacy. But in terms of are they letting, the public see your data? Not unless you share it. 1 second, I get a drink of water. Is LinkedIn Learning free? Yes, it is. LinkedIn Learning is absolutely free. I'm going to link to LinkedIn Learning and some of my favorite classes on Google Sheets in the follow-up email. Next question is, could Move take it from, so Move, we're talking about this right here. I think there was Move right here. Can Move take it from the cloud to documents on our computer? No, Move only moves things within Google Drive. Is Google Sheets automatically updated on a laptop such as HP? Google Sheets lives in the browser, so it's always updated because you're accessing it like a website. So websites are updated on the server or on the computer of whoever creates it. So Google updates as soon as Google updates it on their end, it's always updated on your end. So you're always getting the most updated version of Google Sheets. You never have to worry about updating it. Are the versions able to be extracted and sent as an attachment or use, say, like a grocery list? You don't want the latest version. You might want the list from last week. Yeah, you can create a version. You can create new files from versions. So none of this existed before on this version here. So if we want to use like this version right here, click right here, we can make a copy of this version and it'll be a whole new file in exactly this place. And then you can do whatever you want with it. You can look at it on your phone. You can export it as a PDF file, as a shopping list. Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a nice way to use it because then you can make it, you can also adjust how it formats, how it prints. Yeah, for sure. Using it as a shopping list is a good idea because if you buy the same products pretty often at certain intervals, you can just sort by that interval and know that like in every 2 weeks you buy lettuce every 1 week and then sort by those 2 weeks. You can set the dates in advance and know, and you just generate your shopping list. Maybe I'll do that in it. If I do ever do an advanced version of this worksheet, of this workshop, I'll do how to create a shopping list. Can the other people who is commenting on the Google Sheet alter or modify the sheet that you shared? Only if you give them editing access. If you only give them commenting access, then they can't touch the sheet at all. Is shared just for current version or for all versions of the file? People will be able to see the revision history, but you're essentially sharing what there is right now. If you give them editing access, they can revert back to previous versions, but then that's all recorded, so you'll be able to see that they've done that. Is it possible to password protect a file or only share a link? So you can't password protect it. You can share it with a specific person. You could also remove the sharing anytime you want, and then they won't have access. But you can't, I don't think you can password protect Google Sheets files. Will you be having more of these Google Sheets Excel presentations in the future? Yeah, probably. I've done this one once before, and I'll probably be doing it again. I might do an Excel presentation, although Excel is a bit more complicated. So this one is really hard to do in under 2 hours. So if I have to do Excel, that's gonna have to be numerous sessions. Maybe I'll do it in person sometime. All right. If you have a shared file in your drive that someone else created, is there any way to delete it completely from your drive? When I've tried to delete something by another person, it only moves to the bottom of my Google Docs. There, you might be able to. That's an interesting question. I mean, it usually just live in your shared folder. So it won't be in other places unless you've created a copy of it. So that's not something you usually have to worry about. I don't know offhand if you can actually delete it. I mean, they may have to stop sharing it. You might be able to drag it to the trash though, so I would give that a shot. If I allowed someone to edit the file, but I don't like it afterward, where can I find the file prior to it being modified? File, version history. Revision history is a really nice feature of Google Sheets. Somebody asked, please show us how to freeze a column or a row. I've done that already, but just for review's sake, you click what you want to freeze, and then you go to view and freeze. You can freeze column, you can freeze a row. Whoever thought of freezing columns and rows, give that person a hearty thumbs up. Are offices using Google Sheets instead of Excel now? Some are. I think Microsoft Office is still the market leader, but Google has been gaining market share probably over the last decade. So a lot of offices do use Google Sheets and the Google Workspace in general. If I save the sheet on my computer and there's no internet, will I still be able to work on the sheet, assuming no Excel either? Thought the software was web-based. Sorry if I missed your earlier explanation. So if you set up syncing on your desktop, I've never done it, so I don't know the exact steps, then you should be able to use it within the browser on your computer, even if you're not connected to the internet. And then when it does connect to the internet, then it'll sync with the file in the cloud. So that you should be able to just use it in your browser, even when there's no internet. But you have to set that up. That's something to look for in the Google help files. How do you reverse the order of an entire list, meaning every column and every row? Completely reverse the order of the whole sheet. I think you should be able to do, like, I wonder if I can reverse these columns. I don't want to reverse Jack though. So I'm going to select these. I'm going to select all of these. I don't know. I mean, I've never done that. I don't know offhand if you can, but you should be able to do that. So you can sort range. So you can sort it. So sort by column. So I would think it's something like this. And then you can decide how you want to sort it. But this sorts only by the specifics of that column. It doesn't automatically just reverse it. Direction, cells right to left, sheet right to left. The rotation. So I'm sure there's a way to do it. I don't know offhand how to do it though. Because it's a computer, so there's got to be a way to reverse it. But yeah, if you email me about that, I'll look it up. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to do that. That's an interesting question. I like that. That's the kind of thing I usually use. I usually Google if I want to know. Oh yeah, somebody said sounds like paste transpose. Yeah, so yeah, that actually makes sense. Yeah, because you can do columns, you can switch columns like that. I've done that on Excel. Um, so if you copy your entire thing and then paste transpose, you might be able to flip it around. I'll email me and I'll look it up. I'll give you the exact way to do that. Is the colon always a range? So you can, if it's a colon, that it indicates a range. We're talking about like this right here. So if we do like equals sum and then this, and then whatever cell we're selecting, like, I don't know, D2 colon D5, that is, so if we do this, then this right here, it would be a range. You can also select individual cells. So if you want to do D2, D5, like D7, you know, D9, I put a space here. It doesn't matter if you have spaces here or not. So if I just want to do specific cells, I can also do that. But yeah, when you put two cells and then a colon, that's usually indicates a range. All right, let's get rid of this right here. If I have a random list of names and other info after the names, is there some way I can ask the computer to Google to alphabetize the list? Oh yeah, that's that very easy thing to do and things people do often. So if I want to, for instance, alphabetize this, I can go right here. Actually, if I want to do a range, I can sort that range. I'm going to insert a data, create a filter. So what I do is I created a filter. That way, all of these will sort together and it won't just alphabetize these. If I do like this, if I go sort A to Z, there we go. If I only want to sort a specific, if I just want to sort one thing here without changing anything else, then you could also do that. You can highlight this whole thing and go to data, sort range, and sort ranged by A to Z or Z to A. Yeah, alphabetizing is one of the great things computers do very easily that takes us a long time to do. When you protect ranges, can viewers still filter to search something? Yeah, they should be able to filter because when you create a filter or a view, those are temporary. So especially a view, it's temporary, so it doesn't appear like that for anybody else. So you should be able to work with protected ranges that way. Although I've never done it, so I can't give you a definitive answer, but I believe you're able to do that. If you protect cells, can someone download a copy and then edit the copy they downloaded to their drive? Yeah, I think they should be able to unprotect the cells if they create a whole new another copy for themselves. That becomes their file. I notice it isn't automatically correcting your spelling. Is that an option in Google Sheets? I think spell check is an option in Google Sheets. I always turn off automatic spell check, but let me see. So if I want to type in wacky and I type in wacky. So it doesn't automatically give me the thing, but there should be spell check. Yeah, tools, spell check, and then it'll do everything. But it didn't do it well. Oh, okay, so it does some things. Ignore. So actually, I don't know what it didn't. It didn't. Why? Oh, maybe because I have it if I have a capital. Maybe that's why it didn't do it because I thought it was a proper noun. That's weird. Well, it does have spell check, but it doesn't seem to do a very good job. All right, let me get back to my Q&A. Can you go over how to make the columns larger like you just did? Sure. So making columns larger is really easy. So the simplest way is just to put your mouse right between the columns on this little line, and then this little line with two arrows appears, and then you can move it around, make it bigger. Same thing with rows, bigger and smaller. You can also make it a specific size. So I right-clicked here, and there should be somewhere you can say resize column. So I don't think it did the whole column, so I want to do the whole column. And then, so I highlighted the whole column. I could do resize column, and then I can tell it specifically how big I want it to be. So right now it's 276. If I want it to be 280, be a little bigger. So you can be very specific about the sizing of the columns. Freezing a row, what if you have a few title rows? Then the actual rows to freeze start on, say, like row 4. So you can't freeze a row in the middle of your document. It has to be somewhere. It has to be at the end. You can freeze multiple rows at the end, but you can't freeze one like right here, because then it'll freeze all the ones on top of it. So if you freeze only row 9, it'll also freeze everything up here. Does freeze rows columns work when other editors work on the sheet? Yeah, I think that's one of the things that stays frozen. The columns and rows stay frozen. How to give the cells grid boxes. So if you want to know, if you mean borders, you can select what you want to create borders on. And then there's a button right here that says borders. Gives you even select, lets you select what kind of borders you want to create. If you just want to create basic borders, you do it like that. Borders are my enemy because formatting them is very annoying. But yeah, you can create borders. How do I add multiple rows or columns? You just select them. So if I had multiple, so I wonder if we can select these. So yeah, I've got these here. If I wanted to add, if I had another row of numbers, so let me just do this. I'm going to copy that, go to the parking lot, and that here, and I'm just going to create another one. Just copy 2 of these. If I want to add all of these, I just highlight all of these. There's 20 cells in there, and then here's the sum. If I only want to add certain cells here, I hold one, I click one and hold Control button on my keyboard and select different ones. And then same thing, it gives me the sum here. Okay. Somebody mentioned, how is a table helpful? It lets you organize information easier, and it'll automatically track the specific type of column. So it's much easier to sort the columns without messing the entire range up. You can filter them easier. It does this automatically here. Whereas if you don't have a table here, then you have to do it by individual columns. Likewise, this is all a single unit. It's recognized all as a single unit. And when you need to make adjustments to it in the future or refer to it from another sheet, you can do that much easier when it's all recognized as a single unit. How to create a chart by amount paid. So like this, if you want to create a chart with this, you can highlight the range of data that you want to use to create a chart with, and then insert chart. And there we go. So this is the percentage. I don't want a pie chart. I want that right there. So here you can see the amount paid, and we can actually make it appear, make each item appear separately. And there we go. So this is purely, it doesn't have a date or anything, but we could also include the date if we want to. So if we want to do, let's remove this. Let's try this again. So if we want to select these two, both the date, this one, and I'm going to hit Control and do both of these, and then do Insert Chart. Then it'll sort it by date, and then specific chart, and do like this. But this is all messed up because the dates are not in order. Actually, this looks kind of weird. The dates need to be in order. There we go. So it's sorted exactly by the way the table looked, but now it makes more sense. So now it's sorted the amount by date. So you can see the amount that was being paid. And you can add more dates here, everything. You can adjust this chart however you want. How do you delete past versions? If you go to version history, and you right click here, You should be able to, if you open up the versions, you should be able to delete different ones. Although I don't remember if that's an option. Yeah, you can. Actually, no, it looks like you can't. I think they just say you can rename them, but I don't think you can actually delete them. Whatever you've done, it lives there. Can you create a sample list of investments and their value? Yeah, I mean, you just insert a bunch of smart chips. I'm not going to do that right now, but you can insert a bunch of smart chips and then their values. And yeah, you can create charts for yourself and stuff. Can you insert a picture for each task if each task represents a client? Yeah, you can insert their logo. You insert their logo into the cell, and then yeah, every time you use them, you can insert like the Mickey Mouse or whatever, the Yahoo logo into here. Yeah, your sheet will look very stylish. You do it the same way as you did it before. So you just insert image and then insert image in cell. So we can try that right now, actually. Just do a really quick demo of that. We're going to go to photos. We're going to search photos. We're going to go to Mickey Mouse. Actually, let's just do Disney logo. Let's make it a little easier. Nope. Do I not have any photos? Oh, it's for Google Photos. Okay. Let's look at Google Image. That's what we want. And Disney logo. Okay. Let's use this one. There we go. That's how you do it. How to get the price of a stock. Let's do this in the parking lot. You select a cell. You go to insert smart chips, finance. You type in the ticker number of the whatever the code of the stock. So and we can do Goog. If we want to do it Google. So Google will be Alphabet Inc. It's traded on NASDAQ. Let's do this. And we got Google right here. And we put our mouse over it. It comes up. You might be able to do this in a different format. So you might be able to have this appear somewhere else. I haven't done it yet. I haven't done that, but I suspect you can probably use this information in a different way. You can import information, past information as well. How do you assign a function to a shortcut? Shift Control to get the sum, or do I always need to select the column that I want to be summed? Not sure if I understand the question. You can't assign I don't know if you can assign a macro. You can create a formula using a macro. I mean, you can record yourself creating a formula, and then you can run that formula all the time. Like you can create a custom formula if you want, and run that all the time on whatever, if you select a certain thing, you create that custom. You can run that custom formula on a range. But usually, like if you're doing, you don't have, if you do like a sum like here, you don't have to select these. You can just type it in. If you know it's like B4 to B13, you can type it in manually. What is a formula to subtract, divide, multiply? So sum is an easy one. You can actually just do math within you could equals this A4 times, B6, and it'll give you the answer. So you can do math formulas. It just won't recognize it as, you have to tell it to recognize it as currency. Because if you multiply, it won't recognize it as currency on its own. So yeah, you can do same thing, multiply, divide. If we change this to divide, you can do math. How do you get a Google account? You go to google.com, and there should be on top right-hand side, it should be create a button that says create account. You click on that. All right, it is about to be 1 o'clock, so it's my time to sign off. If you have questions that haven't been answered yet, now I know there's still a few around, do email me. I'll be happy to answer those for you. I'm going to put a link to our post-event survey in the chat. And if you would like to fill that out, I would very much appreciate it. The survey is very short. It's a mere 2-minute survey, but it's very helpful to us, both in telling us how we can do better, but also what topics we can cover in the future. So take a moment to fill that out if you would. Thank you very much for joining me here. I appreciate you taking your time to be on this in-depth tour of Google Sheets. I had a blast explaining it to you and hope that you will be using Google Sheets in the future. With that, we'll see you next time.